Hello, everybody. Good morning. Welcome. Wow. Feels like I've just been looking forward to this all day. So, good morning. We're going to talk about Dracula today, the first half. Hopefully, you had time to read through chapter 14. We stopped at chapter 15. If you have spoilers for future stuff in it, we're only talking about the first half today. So, yeah, we'll talk about chapters 1 through 14. And maybe just some general thoughts on it. We're going to have some fun today because we have to vote on, give some ideas of what our November book should be. So that will be exciting. And what else do we have to do? I mean, we just get to gab. So it's a good time to be here. Our guest presenter is here again, our co-host. So big love in the chat for our co-host, Jacob. We'll bring him in and get started. So yeah, the agenda today is a little more loosey-goosey than the agenda for the Legends of Sleepy Hollow was, because I don't know, we just got to talk about each chapter. So it's going to be, there's a lot to talk about. Before we get Jacob in here, I do have to show you guys what I'm wearing. Oh wait, Jacob wanted to show his shirt. Okay, never mind. Everyone bring Jacob in. Jacob, hi.
Hello. Co-host feels like an upgrade from last time when I was just guest.
I know. I thought I should call you a co-host because I think your weight. I think you deserve the title. Let's see what the chat's saying, and then let's see the merch first. Let's see it.
It didn't get here in time for the last discussion, but the Sleepy Hollow shirt.
You can get all of it in there.
It is pretty sick. I think it looks spooky. I know. I thought mine was perfect for today.
A real girl. Nice.
Yeah, I feel like this really gives spoilers if you actually haven't read it, but it gives Lucy Dracula vibes, perhaps. We'll see. But let's see what's going on. Uzda, happy to have you. Good work on getting the first comment. Emily, I'm so proud of you. You're awake. Emily got up at 5:50 a.m. to be here with us. So shout out to Emily. Thank you for being here to chat. Excited to chat again. Thanks for being here, B. Yeah, a little woohoo in the chat for Jacob, I'm sure. Jacob, part 2. Yep.
Oh.
We're never going to let him leave, so it's Jacob part.
We'll see how the voting goes for the next part. Vote on the next book. Vote on the next guest.
Should we see if you'll get voted off the island or not?
Feels like it maybe would be appropriate.
I'm a little worried that they might vote me off instead. And then I'd be like, wait, it's my channel.
That's the risk of the crowd poll.
That is true. Look at my mug too. Like I'm not going to say I pulled out all the stops, but I kind of pulled out all the stops. Okay. We have a lot to discuss. Dracula. We have thoughts and feelings. I'm gonna take a screenshot of us right now. Wait, we look so adorable. So let's see. Oh, Ariana's here. Hi, Narni. And it's 6 a.m. now. Okay, well, that's still awfully early in my opinion. Too early to be awake. Jacob couldn't say the same, but.
No, but where in the world is that?
Emily.
2 hours earlier than Hawaii.
You did not creepy away. Where in the world are you?
I'm just trying to picture the time zones. Anyways, probably not the important part.
So we're going to go through, I think, a couple chapters at a time to discuss, kind of talk our general feelings, etc. Oh my gosh, Emily, you're in New Zealand? That's so cool. I wish I was in New Zealand. That'd be a lot cooler. Be a lot cooler if I was. Okay. So, I'm sorry, I can't get a thought out. Bram Stoker's Dracula. Let's get started. Chapter 1. What are you thinking?
I liked it going in. I really didn't have expectations other than a rough idea of like vampires more in modern media.
Mhm.
I didn't have an expectation of the story. I kind of liked it just going straight into the story. We have no idea why this guy is going to visit Romania or where Transylvania. And it just goes into it. I really didn't have expectations, but I liked how it just started.
So you liked the approach to it. The story just takes off. You have no like setting.
Yeah, I was immediately curious because of it. There was no lead into it. I just was expecting like we'll find stuff out as we go. We'll see if that holds true, but yeah, I did like it.
Which is interesting because I think that's polar opposite to like the Legend of Sleepy Hollow. I feel like they set the scene a lot for what you're supposed to be expecting.
Yeah, I completely agree. A lot of backstory on that one.
Yeah. So this one is interesting because you're kind of just dropped into this situation and you have one narrator. Let's talk a little maybe about how this story is written up to this point. Like journal entries, diary entries, I guess. What else? Letters between people. How's everyone feeling about that aspect? Because I think that's, I don't know, do you think that was new for this time period? Because he was like, I'm going to do this. 100%.
I almost feel like it was more common at this time period. I don't know if I've read anything recently that, or like more modern, that has that sort of style.
Yeah.
Do you like that style as you're reading something?
I've been having a hard time with it, I'll be honest.
Because of the style or the switching narrators?
I think both of those things, because I guess that's another element we should discuss. So let us know in the comments if you have any thoughts or feelings on this aspect. The format, the multiple narrators, I feel like it's a little too much for me and I can't put my finger on why. I think it's because sometimes you're in their perspective, sometimes you're reading letters to them or from them, or I don't know what it is.
I don't know if I've mentioned it here, but I feel like in other discussions I'm a fairly vocal disliker of the multiple perspective stories.
Yes.
But in this structure with the journal entries or the letters, I actually like it.
You're enjoying it?
My perspective, but I don't know.
Let's see if anyone has thoughts. Okay. Hi, Keiko. Not a huge fan of the diary entries. Yeah. I think one thing is it feels very like, sometimes I like feeling like my narrator is a little all-knowing. And I guess maybe it adds to the spookiness of like, you're just reading this one person's perspective of what's happening. You don't really know. So maybe it adds to it in that way. But I like to have a narrator that knows all.
Especially, I guess, since we already know a little bit. Like, it's going to a vampire story. We don't know exactly how it's going to get there, but to then have a narrator who has less knowledge than we do.
Yeah.
I could see where you're coming from.
Yeah. Okay. Hannah felt the same way. Hi, Hannah. See, a lot of people, I'm not a huge fan. See, Uzda doesn't like it either. Oh, but Elise does like it. Okay, Elise, if you have further thoughts on it to support Jake, put them in the chat.
I'm usually against it, but for whatever reason, in this story, I like it.
Yeah, I feel like you're getting eaten up in the chat. No one. I think I would have liked some letters and journal entries mixed with normal narration. I think that's maybe where I lie. Like, I want to see some of the correspondence, some of the diary entry. It just feels like that's all that's happening. Like, and I like actually the reports, like the Gazette reports, the news at the time. I do like that element.
We're completely opposite on this one. Those are the pieces I didn't like out of this.
How are we going to get through this discussion together with these opposite feelings? I'm fine with the multiple narrators and wouldn't mind the occasional letter or diary, but not so many. Okay, so same page. I feel the same. Hannah agrees with Brendan. Dang it, Brendan is like, he steals the chat away. Everyone's like, what this guy is saying. I'm kind of into the diary entries, but I'm doing an audiobook. Wait, okay, quick pause. Who's listening and who's reading? And has that changed how you feel? Jacob, what are you doing?
I'm reading, and that was actually one of the things I wrote down to ask about. If you're for this journal or letter format, do you think the audio versus like physical read has a bigger impact than it does just for a single perspective narration? Because I almost feel like it'd be hard for me to keep track of it in an audiobook unless the reader was really good.
Well, so I am listening to it for the most part. I read like a portion at the beginning, and then I've been listening for the last, like, I don't know, 100 pages, maybe 150.
You're flipping back and forth.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we'll see what other people say, but I had a hard time. Like, the narration isn't bad because they do different voices for different characters.
Okay.
But at the same time, there are so many characters that sometimes I have to back it up and figure out, or I have to open my book and figure out who's reading then, or who's this letter to, even if I know the voice of that person.
Mm-hmm.
So I think going into the second half, I'm going to read it physically only because I think I'll enjoy it more potentially. Okay. But we'll see what people say. Let's see if other people are in a similar boat. That might make it easier.
The print.
Oh yeah. I liked it. It made me feel like an old-timey detective piecing things together. That's actually a really good perspective, Nikki, honestly. If I need to view it that way. I'm just like, someone tell me the answers. I like the uncertainty when there's a limited perspective. Yeah, adds to the spookiness. That is probably the entire intent of it, and I'm just like, no. Can't follow it. I did mostly ebook and like 3 chapters full cast audio. Which one did you enjoy more, Emily? Because I think right now, I enjoyed reading it more, potentially.
Well, that's an interesting comment there too, the full cast audio versus if you had a single narrator or a single reader, I guess, doing the different voices.
Yeah.
Probably a very different experience as well.
Yeah. I'm listening to it, so maybe I would have been more into the diary entries. If I read it, makes it feel more real to me, maybe. Yeah. Maybe I've been doing this all wrong. I'm going to the second half, completely change perspective. Okay. I've been listening as I follow along in the book. That's actually a good way to do it. Maybe that's what I'll end up doing.
Well, like you were saying, that may help keep track of like who the letters are to and some of that a bit more so that you don't have some of the ambiguity, especially as we get to the later portion of this first half when there's so many letters back and forth.
Yeah.
Constantly switching.
Yeah. To know I listened last year with a single narrator and hated it, but I'm enjoying it more with the full cast. Okay. Preferring the ebook though. Okay.
It feels like exactly the question we're asking.
I know. Thank you, Emily. Thank you for being in the chat today, answering all of our questions. So I'm going to have to do that. I'm going to have to DM you and ask you which one you're listening to, or you can put it in the chat and then I can combine those 2 things together. Okay. Moving into maybe more of the plot of this book, besides the format. How do we feel about the first depiction of Dracula? Like, did he meet your expectations? Did he not? Were you expecting him to be the way he was? What do you think?
So this maybe is not the standard reading experience, but I don't usually read character descriptions and then actually like come up with a mental image of the person. I kind of just skim over the descriptions. That's not something that sticks for me. So I think that my vision of Dracula is probably, even after reading the description, still more the modern vampire than whatever the description was.
Yeah.
I don't I don't know actually what the description focused on.
We could totally go on a tangent on how you like read and what people picture, but we won't today. We'll bring that back a different time. But I at first was like, okay, so he's gonna be hot. I was like, he's a vampire, he's gonna be hot. And then the description started going, and I was like, wait, no. This isn't my man. This is not what he looks like. So, and then he kept doing suspicious stuff. It's like, oh, he didn't come outside to greet him. I'm like, that's suspicious. That's weird.
I did like all of that setup where you weren't really sure. So some of the uncertainty from that main character view of like not knowing how many people were actually in the castle, and kind of coming to terms with that piece of it. And like you're saying, him not coming outside, him like never eating with him.
Yeah.
All of that stuff was interesting.
And again, like I feel like we are supposed to be rooting for our main character here in this moment. But I was like, everyone's handing you a crucifix. Everyone's crossing their heartbeat. People are begging you on their hands and knees not to go, and you're going to go. I say that's what we call natural selection. He went into that.
Fair enough. If the vampires have to eat somebody, like
the one who goes willingly, maybe it's a good choice. I also felt like the beginning, I don't know if other people will see this, but I kind of got Beauty and the Beast vibes. Like, Jacob, you're gonna have to pull on some old memories here, like the original Beauty and the Beast.
Yeah, no, when
that come out.
Yeah.
And like I don't know how the castle looks and how eerie it is.
They pan to the castle and like the lightning flashes and it's outlined. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's the vibe I was getting in the first like few chapters from his perspective. I was like, okay, I feel like this scene is set for me for sure.
Did you know like the story of Dracula further than just the expectation of vampires? Because I've got no background going into it. Okay.
No. No, I don't think I've watched anything, read any adaptations or anything like that. So no.
No, that's kind of fun with this, and actually with Sleepy Hollow as well. And my guess is whatever we're doing for the next one, it's kind of fun because you have these ideas because they're classics and they get re-represented in so many different media. And then to actually read the original, there's a lot of it that like, I don't have a baseline for what that original is. I
kind of like it makes you like, I don't know, reflect on how creative people are. Because I'm like, oh, you took this and it's transformed into something really completely different. You know, I don't know. Makes me appreciate modern people, I guess, who've like breathed life into some older like works. I don't know. Let's see. Okay. Oh, I absolutely cannot picture Dracula with a mustache. Yeah, he wasn't supposed to have that. In my opinion. It was probably like spooky though, you know? Spooky stash, perhaps. Also, Uzda felt the same. Yeah. I definitely had to Google accurate book representations of him because I was not expecting him to look like that. Yeah, he should have done that. Jacob's on it right now.
Yep.
He's like, I gotta know what he's gonna look like. I wanted him to be hot. Oh, womp womp. Okay.
If you're wanting him to be hot, I wouldn't necessarily Google the book representations.
Yeah, let's not. I won't. Thank you, Emily. If anyone wants to have the full cast, this one's free on Audible exclusive. So thank you for giving that to us. If anyone needs that link, okay, or that information. Alan. Oh, see, I don't know who Alan Cumming is, but
that was the Audible exclusive performed by.
Yeah, but I guess I can't. I don't know him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know him like that. But Narni does, and she said, I'm in. Need to find that one. So thank you, Emily. You're making everyone's day better. Okay. I agree with Elise. I had to look it up because I kept picturing the guy who played Dracula from the 2004 movie Van Helsing. Girl, you guys are making me Google. You guys are making me look things up.
Maybe Van Helsing's our movie for this one.
Oh, yeah. Did you enjoy the movie, Nikki? Should we, because we were going to watch an adaptation for next meeting. Should this be it? Let us know in the chat. This should be the version. Oh, yeah. Who's he reminding me of? Oh, he's reminding me of, did you guys watch Charlie's Angels when you were younger? And the guy who had the creepy like hair. He was obsessed with hair. Okay, sorry. Different chat, I guess. I need to ask about that. But he kind of gives that vibe. Is that the same actor actually? Hold on. This is data for a different that I need to look into later. Figure that out. Yeah, if you were casting Dracula, hold on. Everyone needs to weigh in on this before we get into like some future chapters. We'll move to like 5, 6, 7 after this, but who are you casting? If you're casting Dracula for your movie, who's it going to be?
I don't think I have an immediate. Do you have someone that just comes to mind right off the bat?
Benedict Cumberbatch. Cumberbatch? Can I say that word? You know who I'm talking about. I think he would be my Dracula.
I could see that.
Yeah. But that's just me.
There definitely is like a tall face is what I'm envisioning, but I don't have someone.
Does anyone have any?
Like
it's a hard question. It is a hard question. But I do feel like he would be my Dracula.
Representation. We'll have to see what some of the other answers are on that one.
Yeah, before you can determine your own.
Exactly. Yeah, I'll just, piggyback on somebody else's answer that I feel good about.
That's perfect. Well, okay. So moving into, not Kylo Ren. If I wanted the book to go differently, definitely Kylo. Definitely Mr. Adam Driver. Honestly, he could do it. I don't think there's much that Adam Driver can't do, so. It would turn into a fanfic, for sure, if you put Adam Driver in it, but that's already been written, I'm sure. Okay, moving into chapter 5, 6, 7, etc. Oh, Elise has one too. Oh, that's a good one, Elise.
I do like that.
Oh, Jacob's going to piggyback with you on that one.
I think I like Tom Hiddleston better than Benedict Cumberbatch for that, unfortunately.
Yeah, no, it's probably a better choice. Dang it. And I thought I had like this inspired idea. So after we get Jonathan's perspective in Castle Dracula, we move to our female characters and their perspectives. And that's when the journal entries really start going back and forth in the letters. How do we feel about the women that we are following? Do we have any thoughts or feelings? It's a big shift, I felt like, from that first couple chapters to then following the women protagonists.
Yeah, those first few chapters, you get towards the point that he's trying to escape, and I was trying to figure out, like, we're 80 pages into this. What are the next 300 pages about? How does this not just end right here with him either escaping or dying?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But then the shift to the letters and the women in it, I thought give really nice context for everything going on in the city, because there's so much of those letters back and forth that you learn their relationship, but you also learn like just all the news of everyone else, because they're trying to keep each other up to date on everything happening in the two places. You get all the like just catch up for it. So it adds context in a really nice way, I thought.
Mm-hmm. I think I had a hard time with like, you have such a fast start to the story, and I'm like, oh my gosh, okay, this is like we're off to the races.
Yeah.
And then you get their perspective, and it's a much slower pacing, to what their day-to-day is looking like. It's probably, like you said, fairly accurate to the period and like their communication. I also didn't understand why Mina did not she was not worried enough about her man, in my opinion. She's like, I haven't heard from him. Maybe he's sick.
I think some of that probably is difference in how long travel takes.
Yeah.
I was looking at some of the dates, because he's gone for like 4 months, right? It's like
Yeah.
May to sometime in early August
Mm-hmm.
is where we are.
Yeah.
But I don't know if Transylvania is somewhere Eastern Europe and you're doing all this travel by like buggy. I don't know what they're going through, but he's in a little carriage thing for a while.
Yeah.
Like maybe that is travel that just takes weeks, and so
And
even if you're
yeah.
waiting on like news by letter, you're not really getting.
Well, I was gonna say maybe even like letters took so much longer, but I was like, our girl is not like fretting too much. She's like, oh, I hope he's okay. XOXO.
He did downplay it a little bit in his letters too. There wasn't any like, I'm pretty sure I'm gonna die. He didn't seem too concerned.
Well, he was forced to write certain letters.
That's true.
So there's that. Made me think about how many of the problems that could have been solved with email.
They really should have just thought of that. He should have just sent a quick email, just a
Been
little
like,
text or something.
Bad guy, here, picture is linked.
Leaving castle now, on my way.
If you see this man,
Yeah.
run away. They travel by train. Yeah, it should be that long.
Yeah, so if it's train, it shouldn't be weeks. Yeah, she totally should have been more concerned about.
She should have been more worried. I think this is going to dig into like some deep thoughts about this novel as a whole, but also like the time period for women. I feel like Stoker has a very particular idea of what women should be like. And I think he very much makes Lucy and then Mina like the two foils of those two types of women. That like one does the right things and one does the wrong things. One is okay with her sexuality, one is appropriate and not. And I feel like we got some deeper things going on maybe there. But I hate men writing women, so that's my thoughts. I'm like, why are you writing from the female perspective right now?
You think he was trying to get around that with the letters?
Maybe.
I don't know. That certainly, I had not thought about them as being kind of opposites, but as you're saying that, I can definitely kind of envision where you're bringing that up from.
Yeah. I also think, I don't know, as a woman reading it, you feel like maybe different. Like might have some different perspectives on it.
Sure.
But I definitely think we're like, well, Lucy's kind of falls in love easily, is easy to seduce. You get the feelings. And Mina is like the perfect woman, like the perfect Victorian woman, the ideal woman of the period.
All the way through to when the like doctor goes to visit at the end and is talking with Jonathan about Mina. I don't remember what the wording is, but it's all very like wow, your wife is amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, very much so. Okay. I'm pretty sure letters take as long to deliver as humans take to travel because humans had to physically deliver. See, I need to do some research about the 1890s because that makes sense. Taking their time. Yes. Some women representation was iffy. Yeah. That's how I felt, at least. It was, I like the differences between Mina and Lucy and their perspectives, even though they are best friends. Totally agree that they represent different ideals of Victorian women. I think I do like both of the characters, too. So I guess he didn't make you not like them, but I think he has this overarching idea of like what he's trying to convey about these two types of women.
I feel like that means we need to read something next or down the road that is more examples of Victorian women to be able to to compare back.
I definitely made you do that. That's my bad. Yeah, I think we should. I think we should also read some women authors, some books from women from that time. OMG, yes, the treatment of Lucy made me a little uncomfortable, but definitely makes sense for how men thought of women in the time period. Yeah, definitely does make sense. But yeah, looking back, you're like, I think, yeah. I thought it was interesting, the whole moving on towards like Lucy's ill.
Mm-hmm.
The whole blood transfusion. Can we just for a minute can talk about that? I don't think he knew how that worked. I get the feeling that was that even a thing at the time, because I got the feeling he did not know how blood transfusion works.
I have no idea.
Like, we're not
medical
testing blood
timeline for that.
types. We're not testing them here.
Yeah, well, and did they deal with blood type things? So you were just like, oh, this person needs blood. I have no idea what the timeline is on that medically.
Yeah.
You're focusing on very different things on this. I was just like, what's happening? Like, who's the vampire? Like, who's going to die next? I was fully zoned into the plot side of it.
And I'm like digging deeper. I'm like, did he not like his mom? Did Bram Stoker have mommy issues?
This is going to completely change my reading of the second half of it.
I'm so
reading
sorry.
Mina's letters with a totally different view and thinking about the blood transfusion.
I was just like, he's like, you're strong and healthy. You give her the blood. I'm like, I don't think that's the criteria. I think we need to make sure that
working okay.
I think there's more to that than just he's healthy. But I do know some people have perspectives on blood transfusion being a way to talk about sexual situations without talking directly about sex at the time, because it was the 1890s. So people think, because when they talk about the blood transfusion, they talk about if her husband knew that these other men had done it, he wouldn't be happy. We don't want him to know that these other men have given her their blood. And then they talk about the state that the men are in after, and she's in after the transfusion of blood. And it's very kind of mirrors the idea of having intercourse. I don't know. That's what the people are saying. Jacob, you're like, I was just reading this book.
Yeah, so you've done outside research. You're bringing in other perspectives for kind of analyzing it.
Well, because I was a little bit, I was like, what are we trying to say here? Because they also talk how Lucy is susceptible to charms, and
okay.
The idea is Dracula can't come in, right, if he hasn't been invited, and you get the idea that Lucy has invited him in, right? That's why she has this sleeplessness. That's why she leaves her house and goes out to find him, and she's looking for more of what she's experienced, which I think is alluding to I don't know.
It's a very interesting.
Yeah, what do you have to say?
Through. It really I'm gonna have to go back and reread the last 7 chapters and then go into the rest of it.
No blood types. I know, Emily. I was like, what are we doing here? We're like, he's a strong man. Just give her the blood. They just all happen to be universal blood donors. I guess you have to expel some belief and just be like, it just works. It just works. And
at the point that we're talking about a story with vampires, we can maybe also accept the idea of universal blood donors.
See, why can't I let that go? I'm vampires, check. This blood transfusion thing?
Clearly a plot hole.
Plot hole. Google says that the first successful blood transfusion occurred in 1660? In the 1660s?
I wonder how you measure successful. Just the person didn't die. What's our bar here? Because reading it for the book, I didn't read it with with it being a analogy for anything with sex. I was reading it and questioning okay, which one of these guys is the vampire? And they're just trying to funnel blood into her to make it an easier target. Since she's already kind of out of commission.
Oh my goodness. That's a more interesting way to look at it. It's more interesting. Because blood from healthy, strong men will solve all of her problems. Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
I did think it was odd once she was on bed rest and they had the garlic around her and everything, that they didn't tell the rest of the house, hey, keep her window closed.
I know, because I think he didn't want people to question his belief or why he was doing that, because then he'd have to confirm that he believed in these paranormal things. That's the perspective I got. But at the same time, he could have lied and just said, This is medicinal.
Yeah.
Don't do that.
And like it attracts bugs. Don't open the window. I don't know.
Just don't.
He's the doctor.
Yeah.
I'll defer.
I'll defer. I did think that was interesting as well. I thought it was interesting that her husband comes in to say goodbye to her. And then she's very forward, which I think is also that aspect that like people have been pointing out of like the sexuality of it. She's like, come kiss me, which I guess at the time would not be very appropriate to do or say. I think it's hard reading on our like modern lens. We're like, this isn't really okay. This is fine. But at the time that was like inappropriate. But also she was transforming into potentially a vampire. Do we have thoughts there? Who's the bluffer lady?
That's what I was going to kind of go to out of that. I do wonder, there's not enough other female characters for it to make sense as anyone other than her. Unless it's just a new character coming in.
Because
okay, think that is it.
They never go through with the procedure on her body, right? They don't end up doing it. Because Van Helsing wanted to kind of mangle her.
He wanted to behead her, right?
Yeah. Like after she died. So I think so that she would not be able to rise again. But I get the feeling it didn't happen. But I was also surprised that he told Jonathan that he wanted to do it, because I was like, Jonathan, you really going to go with it? Or not Jonathan. Dr. Seward. I was surprised he told him, like, hey, will you help me, buddy? I know you loved her, but time. I'm like, I don't think your buddy's going to go along with it.
I could see at that point in the story that you'd have enough like fear driving some of the decision making that you could get some buy-in there to behead the girl that just died. It's tough to present it that way, but
yeah.
Do you trust Van Helsing out of it at this point in the story?
I don't know.
I think that's like for when Jonathan's out at the castle, you have this idea that Dracula's trying to get to London, or at least to England.
Mm-hmm.
But at the point that we then transition to having all the letters, I didn't think he's already out there. So these are new vampires or different vampires than the start.
Unless he can run super fast.
Full of all of our characters already. Yeah. I have no idea what's going on in the second half of this book, basically, is what I'm saying.
Basically, we no idea what's going to happen next. Oh, wait, okay, where was I? Oh, yeah, Jacob, it looks like blood transfusions weren't deemed safe. Okay, until... So he was close to that time period where it was safer.
There was at least knowledge of it when he was writing about it.
Yeah. Thanks for reminding me to Google what... Oh, yeah. What does it mean? Is there a meaning of that? Loofer?
Yeah, I almost wonder if it was just because it was all the kids.
Mm-hmm.
It was just a mispronunciation of something.
Oh.
I don't know what it would be.
Yeah. Emily, if you look it up, let us know what that meant. Quickly, we'll liven up the chat. Oh, it means beautiful lady. Yeah, and Lucy was beautiful. Suspicious.
Seems iffy.
Okay, everyone in the chat to liven it up for a minute. I feel like we went really deep on a few things. Vampire, wolf, or ghost? What are you picking? That's all of the... Yeah, get a dub in the chat, Brendan.
Wolf, like werewolf? Is that what you're thinking there?
Yeah.
Vampire,
werewolf, or ghost. Weigh in on your option and why.
What's the criteria you're going with here? Just like
I don't want to throw in criteria because it's just it's just what would you choose? Are these more questions today?
I think I personally would have to lean werewolf of the three. But that's another, I'm realizing as I say that, like vampire, what's the origin of werewolves? Is there some Dracula origin story version for werewolves?
Well, we'll find it. We'll find out.
That's gotta be the next book.
That's gonna be our next step. Anyone?
What's your pick on those three?
Yeah, I'm tempted to say werewolf. Ghost is kind of cool. Ghost has good vibes.
Ghost would be cool.
But
not vampire, despite like Vampire Diaries and all that for you. Dracula that we're reading right now.
Yeah, I know. It's like, are we talking about Damon or like, or are we talking about Dracula style?
The book version of Dracula.
different vampires. I don't know. I like how werewolves are like pack animals. They're protective. Yeah, I like how werewolves are like that. Let's see our votes. Werewolf, good choice, Nikki. Keiko, werewolf.
I'm picturing like a Lupin from Harry Potter sort of werewolf. I'm
picturing him. Anyways, we're picturing Team Jacob. The girls who know. Ghost, IDK just feels right. I kind of like Ghost. I might even put Ghost before Vampire.
I think that would be the order for me. Yeah.
Ghost from Uza as well. Ooh, Ghost seems fun. Oh, Ghost seems fun, but I think Vampire. You are pure to your calling, Narni. She's deep.
Will be last then.
What's the deal? Okay, I did want to talk about this. Yeah. Brendan, thank you for saying a Vampire Diaries vampire for you. Respect. Endless respect for you and your craft. I've been wanting to talk about Renfield. I was like, we have to talk about him before the end of the live. So let's do it. Let's give it a go. Because I'm lost.
I don't understand how this would have started for him. Like at this point, it sure feels like he's somehow, like he refers to his master, like that's got to be one of the other vampires, whether it's Dracula or not. Like he's in with that crowd. But why? Like how did it start where he ended up in the like asylum and they're giving him these flies and then he's feeding the flies to the spiders? What is the like asylum decision making process where they're gonna keep giving him these things and they think they know where it's going? And then he eats the pigeons and they give him more flies.
Dude, let's find out. I get the feeling it has to be like, it has to be a foreshadowing of the book in some way. Because he's feeding the small things to the bigger thing, which is being eaten by an even bigger thing. Like, I feel like all these little things are all lead to Dracula, and Dracula is going to be like the final boss.
Do you think Renfield's gonna get out then and be a vampire, like on the loose, on the lam?
I don't know if Renfield's a vampire.
He's just someone who really enjoys eating like raw animals.
He's just like he's just like Brendan would be for Vampire Diaries style vampire, and he's like, sure, boss, whatever.
Big fan. Okay.
I don't know. I'm confused by him. Anyone?
He's seen what Dracula does. He's like, I'm a big fan of your work. Look what I can do. That's what you're reading out of this?
I almost think he's someone who's been like hypnotized or something by Dracula.
Okay.
So I think he's kind of put him out there to do something. He's like, he's a little crony. I don't know, you guys. Okay, let's see if anyone else has any thoughts, because I know Renfield is my favorite character at the moment. Clinical vampirism is also called Renfield syndrome, based off his character. What?
See, that really makes me feel like he's going to end up as a vampire then.
So he is a vampire. Say in the chat, is he a vampire or not? I'm lost. I am not sure. Asylums were wild. They went crazy, dude.
They were just like, let's see what happens.
I kind of like their approach, though. I do kind of like it. I think this will happen. Here's my hypothesis. Let's find out. And I don't understand. I feel like he has peaks and valleys in how he's doing, like Renfield is feeling. Mm-hmm. That must mean something.
It almost felt moon related. Like there was one of the things where he was looking out his asylum window and they said something about the moon, but then that's obviously werewolves, not vampires. So maybe disregard.
I don't know. He's stumped me And so
this is gonna be great. We're gonna get all of our predictions for the second half, and then we're gonna come back in 2 weeks and just recap all the ways that we were wrong. It's gonna be perfect.
We knew nothing, clearly. Okay, Renfield is so compelling and gross. Definitely one of the most unsettling parts of the story for me. I agree, dude. Even more so than like Dracula himself, like, or like them drinking blood. Like, Renfield is a riddle. I need to know. Is he supposed to be like a familiar, kind of lost on his whole thing?
So then maybe next we do a quick recap on like what a familiar really is, because that's a good gap in my knowledge there.
A familiar is like if you're like a witch, usually it's an animal or creature that is your like, it's like a sidekick kind of. That's a dumbed down version. That's like what I would tell if
I appreciate it. I needed that.
I think it's okay. Yeah, vampire hypnotism, but IDK. Okay. See, that's kind of the feeling I got, that he was being like compelled. Vampire Diary shout out. Brain fever was wild. No mental breakdowns allowed if you get trapped by a vampire.
Do you think that's what Jonathan had at the beginning when he was sick? You know, when Jonathan's like on his way back and he's sick for a while and has brain fever?
Yeah.
So is he starting to, like, is that the same mental break where like Renfield maybe went to the castle earlier and got out and had the mental like brain fever, but then turned into a fan instead of not?
It's gonna go one way or the
Just
other.
On here.
I know, we're gonna delete this live later when we realize everything we said was wrong. Wikipedia says.
There you go.
Oh, okay. Wannabe. Girl, I get it. Honestly, I get that. I get Renfield's drive. I think with vampires, or like humans that want to be vampires. Oh, okay, so that same idea. And they think they'll turn them if they serve them long enough.
Okay. So I guess out of this, do you think that Renfield ends up as a vampire by the end of this thing?
No. He's a crony. If you're going to turn him, they would have already done it.
What do you think? You think he dies then?
Listen, I don't know, but if I was a vampire and I had this person who's like, oh my God, I'll do all your bidding for you. Like, I just hope one day you'll convert me. I'd be like, of course I will. Of course I will. I've already got them on the hook. I'm not going to do anything. I don't know. That's my philosophy. It would be. That was me. Still confused why Dracula kept Jonathan for so long in his castle without biting him. Was it just to mess with him, or is he really lonely? You guys, let's have a moment of silence for our guy Dracula. Maybe companionship. Maybe he's just looking for friends. I don't know.
See, I wonder if it's the same thing as Renfield. I've got to finish this book now. If Renfield was there and he like turned Renfield into a familiar, like the fanatically devoted servant, was he trying to do the same thing to Jonathan and like have these people who are going to continue to help him?
Because they probably help put people in their path, ideally, right? Like you'd have this crony who could kind of send people on missions to see you or whatever, and then they're doing your dirty work.
Wow.
But Elise's theory I like even more. I think they were in love.
Well, it was very one-sided, if so. Jonathan was not having it.
I can't wait for the fanfic. I like that theory. Me too. See, we need a fanfic about them just being in love, actually. That's what we need. Before we wrap up our thoughts on this and talk about our next meeting, put in the chat what book you guys want to read in November, or make sure you do before the end of the live, so I can put them into a poll and we can all vote.
I'm going to throw out Frankenstein as my contribution to the poll.
Frankenstein is yours?
I think so. It feels like it's probably the right era. I don't know when it was exactly, but female author. Mix it up.
Mix it up. Yeah, that would be nice.
Still a little bit in the spooky vibe because we'll be starting it right after Halloween.
Yeah.
Could be good.
That's a good vote. I was kind of going to go like Anne of Green Gables.
I know nothing about it. Let's do it.
You never watched it like growing up? I didn't read it, but it's not spooky though. It's very wholesome, coming of age type of story. You're like, womp womp. We don't want that.
No. If that's the poll, let's do it.
That'll be my choice. So I'll put that in the poll potentially if we have like anyone backing any of ours. So Frankenstein, Anne of Green Gables. If you guys have another book, ideally just a classic that kind of has fall vibes or spooky vibes. Anything in between.
November vibes.
November vibes. So that's what we're looking for. Okay. After discussing, how are you feeling going into the latter half of Dracula?
I'm excited for the second half. I read the first half all in one sitting because I was on a plane, so I just read the first 15 chapters at once or 14 chapters at once.
Yeah.
And I think that had I not wanted to stop so that we had only read the first half, I didn't want to have read more by this discussion. I think I would have already finished it.
Yeah.
But largely, I just have no idea how it's going to wrap up.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just curious about the finish of it, and I think stylistically, I'm enjoying it so far. What's your read going to the second half there?
I'm more excited for the second half, and after thank you guys for being here and talking in the chat truly, because I feel so much better about hopefully enjoying the second half more, like reading it or listening to the full cast perform it. I think I'll be able to get more into it. I think the style of the journal entries just being back to back to back wasn't fully gripping me. But the more we talk about what's going on in the story, I'm like, this is going to be really interesting when it wraps up. I don't know if Van Helsing, what is he? Is he going to be fully good or not? Or what's his story? Why is he, why does he know all of this?
I think we've got to go through and make some, hard predictions on each of the characters. How's this going to wrap up? And then we'll just insert the clip into the live later and gray everything out, X's through it. We're going to be wrong on all of it.
Just play it at the beginning. Yeah, we should give some predictions. If you guys have final thoughts, just kind of on how you're feeling going into the next half, and if you have any character predictions, so that next time we can talk about, did those come to fruition or not? Let's start with Jonathan. Any thoughts on his arc for the end of the story?
I kind of want to say it's a vampire story. It's a horror story. I kind of want to just say dead for everybody other than Dracula.
Dead.
It's not a happy ending. They don't catch him. That's what I'm thinking.
Ooh.
I'm kind of hoping for it, honestly, but I don't think that's what happens. I want to say Jonathan lives.
You think?
I think he lives. I think he probably is a big help in actually catching him because he can identify him. Which maybe that's not a tough part. He's got the mustache, but
the mustache. I think Jonathan is no longer here with us, and I think his wife is going to be. No, this is written by a man. I want her to be the protagonist at the end.
She could be
with Van Helsing.
With Van Helsing, do you think Van Helsing bad?
No, I think he's good. I think him and Mina at the end are going to be the ones tracking him down.
So you do trust Van Helsing then?
I do trust him.
Okay.
I feel like I shouldn't. I feel like it might bite me in the behind, but I do trust him.
I didn't for a while, but I think at the end with kind of his behavior when Lucy actually died, I think I'm with you on that. I think he's good.
Mm-hmm.
So you're saying Jonathan dead, Mina working with Van Helsing.
Mm-hmm.
They're both good. Do they catch him?
No, that wouldn't be a fun story. I think he gets away.
Turns into a bat and flies off into the night.
Yeah. Yeah, that style. What about Dr.
Seward?
Seward. What about him?
He feels like a real easy character to kill off. He's had some valuable contributions, but if I was writing this and said, we need another victim, that's my pick.
I think Renfield's going to get him. Renfield's going to get a little bored of his flies and spiders and pigeons.
I like that.
He's going to move to Mr. Doctor.
The Renfield's going to actually kill him or just serve him up to the vampires?
I think he's going to do it as an offering. Like, look what I can do for you.
I like that. Okay.
Especially after you guys, thank goodness you guys are all here because I get to build on your theories because I didn't even think of the idea of him being like a familiar who's trying to gain like gratification from the vampire. So I think that's what he's going to do. Yeah. Lucy is going to do something dumb, I fear.
Isn't she dead?
I think she's a vampire.
I think she's a vampire. She's still okay.
But I think she's going to get in trouble or something.
As a vampire.
With the vampire council.
The council. We haven't even met the council.
Get caught in the crossfire. This is going to be embarrassing to look back on, all these theories. But
it's going to be good.
Who are we forgetting? Dracula? He's going to get away?
I don't think he's going to get away. I think they'll catch him at the end. Mina, and I think you're right that Mina would live. I'm less certain about that. I
She's
think
pure, bro. She's pure. She's innocent. Okay, let's think like Mr. Stoker. He's gonna let her live.
Okay.
It's like a horror movie. It's like a slasher. Who lives?
Vampire, like Dracula rewritten as a slasher would actually be phenomenal.
That would be
such a movie.
Oh, Elise, there is fan fiction out there for you about them being in love. I love that for us. Anna Green Gables, yes. Second, obviously,
We'll have to get the poll up.
Yeah, we'll have to do the poll. Very Thanksgiving. Okay. I've never read it. I love that, Narn, when you're like, never read it, but it gives Thanksgiving.
Perfect.
Something Agatha Christie. You got to choose, though. You got to pick one.
Is that a classic?
Agatha Christie's classic.
Okay.
Maybe not all of her works. But I think Goosebumps.
Always up to read investigation stories.
Is Goosebumps a classic, Lyndon? Goosebumps, welcome to Camp Nightmare. I never read Goosebumps, so growing up, I wasn't.
Yeah, no, I didn't either.
Wuthering Heights, perhaps. See, the exact opposite of Lyndon's suggestion.
Goosebumps to Wuthering Heights. I love it.
I would be open to Wuthering Heights.
Yeah.
I feel like that would be interesting. Agatha Christie is such a good idea. I love her books. Or Phantom of the Opera. Ooh.
It could be a fun one.
Yeah, I haven't ever watched that either, you guys. I'm such a noob. I know nothing about it, genuinely.
Oh.
So I could go into that blind.
That could be a really fun one.
I feel like Dracula isn't going to make it to the end of the novel. He's been long for this world, but he won't be long for this book. Good job, Brendan. I'm glad you thought of that one. LOL, Brendan. Yeah, same. Yeah, I think Van Helsing is going to kill him.
That's kind of what I am.
Cool. That'd be kind of cool. Halloween party, maybe. Okay, I mean, it will be November, but could still be fun. Okay, we have some good ideas. I will make sure to write down some ideas and figure out how we can narrow it down. Of course, the final poll will be on YouTube. I might do a poll on Instagram too. So if you want your vote to count twice, if you're on both of those platforms, you get 2 votes. I feel like that's fair.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and we'll narrow it down to maybe we'll choose between 3 or 4, I think, in the end. So if anyone else has any ideas of books, put them in the chat now before we wrap up. Any final thoughts, any final predictions so that when we meet again in 2 weeks, right? 2 weeks?
2 weeks.
We'll have our final thoughts and we can double check on the date for everybody. I think we are planning to do the 26th or 27th of October for the next meeting. We could keep it the same if you guys are liking this time and this day. Sorry, I'm like, what am I saying? 26th or 27th. Let me know in the chat if one of those seems better. Poor Emily, I'm sorry about the timing. Is there a timing that's better for you to be able to attend? I didn't even think about New Zealand time zones. Here I was.
We could always push a little bit later in the day too.
That's true. We could do later. So if anyone has final thoughts on that, while we wrap up, final predictions or books, I think definitely Anne of Green Gables will be an option. Frankenstein, Wuthering Heights. It sounds like we should throw an Agatha Christie on there. What else, you guys? What am I forgetting? Phantom of the Opera was on there too. Like, maybe we just need to keep this book club going. Maybe it's not just for the fall. We have so many ideas. Okay, I'll give you guys a special incentive surprise to share your final thoughts and votes. Hello.
We just skip the reading for next time and spend an hour staring at the puppy.
Are you here for the Dracula discussion? Yeah. You've been present the whole time. Have you been present the whole time? Y'all, I don't think I said it in the last video. His name is officially Mr. Bingley. I haven't posted him yet either, but I have content coming with him. Don't worry. Okay, final thoughts. Later, and I'd be late for class because it's Monday there. See, we know nothing. I'm sorry, Emily. We don't know. We don't know much of much. We don't know much at all. Okay. Could do the day before. Okay.
Yeah.
So I can put another pull up for that too, because I know there might be other people who come to the final discussion. So I'll 26th or 27th. And yeah, we'll see what the vote gives us. And I'll add those other, sorry, I need to hold him so you guys get to see him because you're sick of seeing me. And I'll add those book options to the poll for our final November book. And then we can decide if we want to do some winter books. You looking at, Brendan? Yeah. Okay. Bingley. Oh, Bingley's adorable. Thank you. Big dub with Bingley. Here, the yays in the chat for Bingley. Murder on the Orient Express. Have you read that one, Jacob?
I have not. I know the story. I've watched the movie.
Okay, I read it and I thoroughly enjoyed it. I would reread it for sure. I think it's maybe the only one I've read. So, yeah.
Yeah, it'll be cool to see what comes out of the poll. There's a number of options there that I'm excited about.
Yeah. Well, you guys, any final thoughts? Thank you for being here this morning. And honestly, this discussion has been really interesting and fun, for me at least.
It's going to be, I think, cool to read the second half of the book, having discussed partway through and just having the different perspectives. And so much information from from everyone here today about
yes, you guys are
using blood transfusions. And, yeah.
So knowledgeable. Thank you for being here. Imagine Jacob and I trying to chat alone. It wouldn't be as fun or productive. Darcy, do you want to come be in there? Darcy's still a little anti-Bingley, and it's okay. That's his right. Hopefully one day they'll be friends. Well, you guys, I think that's all from us today. Again, the poll is going to be on the community tab as they always are. And I'll also put it on Instagram. I link that if you guys are interested. You don't have to. But if you want to double vote, that option's there for you. Any final thoughts, Jakey?
Nothing from me.
There's no final thoughts on Bingley.
Looks so tired.
Yeah, he is. He also sees Darcy, and he's like, why don't you like me? Please like me. He's not planning on it. All right, y'all. See you 2 weeks. I will also, actually, right now I'm going to put up the poll. Should we meet on the 26th or 27th? So right after this video, if you want to go vote, you can. And then he's sick of Dracula talk. We'll wrap it up. And then the poll for the books will come out probably in the next 2 days too. So talk to you guys soon. Thank you for being here. Thank you, Jacob, for co-hosting. Bye.